Right now, somewhere in your day, you are going to feel it. That itch, that restless pull to check your phone for no reason, that feeling of sitting still and wanting desperately to be doing anything else. You call it boredom. You treat it like a glitch. Something to kill, scroll away, medicate with noise. But the real answer is far stranger. Boredom is not a malfunction. It is one of the oldest survival tools your brain has ever built. And the version of you sitting here today, tapping your foot, refreshing an app, sighing at nothing, is running a program that once decided who lived and who didn't. Let's go back. Not centuries, hundreds of thousands of years. Your ancestors did not have entertainment. No books, no music on demand, no glowing rectangle in their pocket. What they had was time. Long stretches of it. Sitting by a fire. Walking for hours with nothing to look at but grass. Waiting for prey that might not come for days. If boredom didn't exist, what would have happened? Nothing. That's the answer. Nothing would have happened. A creature that could sit still forever, content with stillness, would have stayed still. It would not have explored. It would not have searched for new food sources. It would not have noticed the drought coming, or the herd migrating, or the tribe 2 valleys over with better tools. Boredom is discomfort with stagnation. And discomfort with stagnation is what pushed your ancestors to move. Psychologist John Eastwood at York University has spent years defining exactly what boredom is. He describes it as the feeling of wanting to be engaged in something satisfying, but being unable to find it. Not laziness, not emptiness, a kind of hunger. A hunger not for food, but for meaning. Think about that. Hunger for meaning. Your body has hunger for food because food keeps you alive. Your body has thirst because water keeps you alive. So why would evolution build an emotional hunger for meaning, for stimulation, for something to do? Because stimulation was not guaranteed. And a mind that stopped searching was a mind that stopped growing. Here is where it gets stranger. In 2014, researcher Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia ran an experiment that became famous almost overnight. He placed people alone in a room. No phone, no book, nothing to do but sit with their own thoughts for 15 minutes. Most people hated it. So Wilson gave them one more option, a button that would deliver a mild electric shock. Painful enough that earlier in the same study, most participants said they would pay money to avoid it. Given the choice between sitting quietly with their thoughts or shocking themselves, a significant number of people chose the shock. Read that again. People chose pain over stillness. That is not weakness. That is ancient wiring. Your brain is built to treat prolonged inactivity as a threat, because for most of human history, inactivity meant danger. An animal that stopped moving, stopped scanning, stopped searching, was an animal that starved or got caught. Boredom is your brain sounding an alarm. Not something is wrong, but you are not doing the thing that keeps you alive. Now here's the twist you didn't expect. Boredom didn't just push your ancestors to move, it pushed them to invent. Psychologist Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire ran studies showing that boredom actually increases creativity. In one experiment, she had participants complete a mind-numbingly dull task, like copying numbers from a phone book, before asking them to think of creative uses for a common object. The bored group outperformed the group that skipped the dull task. Their minds, starved of external stimulation, went looking inward instead. They started generating ideas simply to escape the discomfort of having none. This is not a coincidence. This is design. Somewhere on the savannah, a human sat by a fire with nothing to do, and instead of staying empty, their mind wandered toward a new way to sharpen a stone, toward a new pattern in the stars, toward a story to tell the person next to them, just to fill the silence. Boredom didn't just keep your ancestors moving, it kept them building. So why does it feel so unbearable now? Because the world changed faster than your brain did. For hundreds of thousands of years, boredom was rare and brief. A gap between tasks. A pause before the next hunt. Your brain evolved to treat that gap as a 5-alarm signal precisely because it almost never lasted long. There was always something coming. A threat. A task. A reason to move. Now the gap is everywhere. And so is the alarm. Every red light, every waiting room, Every quiet 5 minutes triggers the same ancient signal that once meant, go find food or you'll die. Except now, there's nothing to find. So your hand reaches for your phone instead, because your phone gives your brain the one thing it's begging for: stimulation on demand, with none of the searching. You are not weak for reaching for your phone in a boring moment. You are answering an alarm that is hundreds of thousands of years old, using the only tool your century has given you to answer it fast. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Every time you silence that alarm instantly, you rob it of its actual purpose. Boredom was never meant to be eliminated. It was meant to be followed. It was a compass, not a punishment. It pointed your ancestors toward new territory, new tools, new ideas. It wasn't asking to be distracted. It was asking to be listened to. Wilson's own research found something else buried in that shock experiment. The people who let their minds wander instead of reaching for distraction often ended up somewhere unexpectedly productive. Solving a problem they'd been stuck on, remembering something important they'd forgotten to do, landing on an idea they hadn't gone looking for. Their boredom, left alone for just a few minutes, did exactly what it was built to do millions of years ago. It pushed them somewhere new. So the next time that restless feeling creeps in, the tapping foot, the urge to check something, anything, consider not silencing it immediately. Consider what your ancestors did with that exact same discomfort. They didn't reach for a device. They looked up. They looked around. They wondered. And that wondering, uncomfortable, itchy, impossible to sit still inside of is the same feeling that once carried your entire species forward, one restless mind at a time. So this time, when you feel it, don't call it a glitch. Don't call it a flaw. Call it what it actually is. The oldest, quietest voice in your brain, still doing its job, still trying to move you towards something better. The question was never why you get bored. The question is what you're going to let it build. If this made you look at your own restlessness differently, stay a while longer. There are more of these ancient signals still running quietly in your everyday life, and one of them is waiting in the next video. Subscribe if you want to keep uncovering them, and tell me in the comments the last thing your boredom actually led you to.